Uh, uh, okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Uh, Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second Language Education Research Conference and Expo, Sustainability in Education. I would like to open this webinar by first of all expressing my deepest gratitude to the coordinator of Master's Program in Language Education, Faculty of Teachers Training and Education, Sriwijaya University, Ma'am Sary Silvhiany. And my gratitude also goes to the keynote speakers for today's webinar. And all of the respectful presenters for their willingness to share insights and experiences through this webinar. Last but not the least, my gratitude goes to each and every one of our attendants for joining us. I hope that this webinar will give us much knowledge in developing language teaching and learning. Okay, before we start the presentation session, I coordinately invite Ma'am Sary Silvhiany, the coordinator. As the coordinator, the time is yours, Ma'am Sary.
Thank you very much, Ameleta, for opening this meeting and to give me the opportunity to give remarks on this activity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, today we can continue our event, Language Education Research Conference and Expo, which is the second time that we organize this event. And today mark the fourth meeting for for Language Education and Research Conference and Expo. It is actually the sixth topic we cover for our conference. So for this year, we started on November 16 with the topic of artificial intelligence. And then on the 23rd of November, we cover the topic of digital literacy and English education. Two topics actually on the 23rd, we have two sessions. And just yesterday, we did a special topic on the teaching of Indonesian language and culture. And today, we also raise important issues on sustainability in education as the first series of today. And then the second series will cover the topic of international mobility. Now, those two things here are very related, actually, even though the topic might seem to be different. Now, the first one that we're going to do from now until around 10 a.m. will cover sustainability in education. So what we mean by sustainability here is our role as educators, as prospective teachers, to think about how we contribute to the changing in our environment. So as we all have experience in recent years, we have encounter and even experience by ourselves the changing in our environments due to climate change. So as teachers, we need to participate in interdisciplinary effort to reduce or to mitigate the impact of climate change. Now, we might be wondering what we have to do as a teacher of language. Yeah, it seems like this is not our field. However, as a language and literacy educator, we actually have the opportunity to include this topic in our teaching. We might not directly contribute to technological aspect or natural aspect of mitigating climate change. However, we can help by raising awareness about climate change and to invite our students to think about our environment and to learn about ways to solve these problems through the discussion that we do in our classroom. So really what we do is to help students to gain knowledge about their environment, to support the development and the development of disposition and knowledge about climate change. So our student will be aware of their role in the society to mitigate climate change. That's what we will do as our educator. And our speakers today have done something, yeah, at least from the results of their research, yeah. We have 4 speakers in this session who will be sharing their effort to integrate or to find out about student or about how we can create media that can help us as teachers and to help other teachers to include the discussion of climate change and other ecological sustainability. And later on, after this topic, we will continue our discussion on international mobility. Now, mobility is also an important issue in which our world is increasingly open. So we live in the world where physical borders are not the hindrance for us to meet people from different culture. Now, the presenters for the next session will focus on how international students navigate their language and literacy, in which they move from one place to from some places actually, because our presenters today have interviewed and conducted research on students coming from different parts of the world who spend their or to pursue their education in Indonesia. And this research will inform us what language and literacy aspects are involved in their ways of making adjustment or to navigate their education, their adjustment, as well as their future aspiration as students in the universities in Indonesia. And one presenter will also discuss how a young education sojourner make adjustment in studying in high school in Indonesia. So these 2 topics, I hope, will enlighten our knowledge and broaden our perspectives about sustainability and mobility in education. I would like to thank all the organizing committee to make this event possible, and for all the presenters who will be sharing their knowledge, and I hope it will be beneficial for everyone attending this meeting. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ma'am Sary, for the welcoming remarks. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, now we continue to the presentation session. Okay, so now we jump to the parallel section. Okay, the first speaker is coming from Salsabila Nurhaliza for the first speaker. Is there Salsabila Nurhaliza?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now time is yours. You can present. Can present now.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Okay. Okay, thank you for the moderator for the chance. Today, I would like to share my research entitled Designing Climate Change Education in ELT to Support Junior High School Students' Climate Literacy. Okay, to save the time, please jump to the introduction. Okay. As we know, climate change is a natural event that is happening now because of changes in the world and things that people do. Climate change is a various global emergency that is changing life on Earth in big ways. According to Hotang 2022 and Moulton Hill et al. 2019, it is a part of Ph.D. to teach about climate change. A unique way to teach about climate change that fits right into the school program is through ELT or English language teaching. When English language teaching and climate change education are combined, they create a powerful and useful teaching synergy. According to Niepold, 2007, people who want to be climate literate need to understand three basic ideas. The Earth climate system can be understood and predicted. The field of climate studies is growing. Our understanding of Earth climate system is still being built, and climate studies are based on real-world evidence that can be published and proven through experiments. Okay, next. Okay, this is the problem of the study. I have three problems to research. Is the first is student response. This is how do the student respond to instructional design and development in which climate change education integrated in LT. And the second one is I want to know, are there any obstacle or barriers faced in implementing climate change based education in teaching English in junior high school? And the third is climate literacy develop. I want to know how does students' climate literacy develop after the implementation or after the intervention of integrated climate change education in LT? Okay, next. Okay, this is the literature review section. In this literature review, I have reviewed for uh, for literature. The first is climate change, and the second one is climate change in education. And also, I review about climate change in ELT, and the last is about climate literacy. Okay, next. Okay, in this methodology section, I use design-based research. Design-based research. The subject of the study is ninth grade in junior high school in Banyuasin 1, SMP 1 Banyuasin 1. And in my research, I use EDI model that we know EDI is stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation Model that has been effectively applied in English language teaching across various contexts. And for the data, I use survey and interview. This survey used for uh, to know the students what the students literacy about climate change. I use the technique for analyzing the data using Excel to know the percentage before and after the intervention, and also to support the result of the survey I used interview and the technique for analyzing the data is using thematic analysis. Next. Okay, so this is the finding of student response. In the integration of climate change education in ELT provides students with a multi-phased approach to learning that not only enhance their language skills but also increase their awareness and understanding of environmental issue. The findings reflects a positive response from students indicating their engagement and development through the instructional process in the student response phase. And the researchers design learning activities related to climate change in ELT as the in the table in the this instructional design was carried out over the course of 8 meetings. In the first iteration, students were introduced to the foundational concept of climate change through engaging reading materials and multimodal resources. For the second iteration, shift the focus toward developing analytical writing skills by exploring current news articles related to climate change event. The students were encouraged to critically access and summarize information, enhancing their ability to communicate complex idea effectively. And for the final iteration, the students took on a more active role as researchers and problem solvers by investigating climate change effects in their local environment and proposing solutions through poster presentation. The students demonstrate their ability to apply what they had learned in practical and creative ways. Okay, next. So this is the result of the survey. As I said before, I use the survey for to know their understanding of climate change after and before the interpretation. Uh, the result of the pre-test and post-test survey shows a significant improvement in students' climate literacy after the intervention. As you can see, only 70% of students understood that nuclear energy use could contribute to global warming, but this figure increased to 55% in the post-test, showing a 38% improvement. And also, the student understanding that coal is a non-renewable energy source also increased by 35% from 24% to 90 to 59%. This suggests that students are starting to recognize the importance of transitioning from fossil fuels to renewable energy as a part of climate change mitigation effort. Overall, the results reflect the effectiveness of the intervention in improving student understanding of various causes of climate change, correcting misconception, and raising awareness about the importance of sustainable action. The consistent improvement across different aspects of climate literacy suggests that students have developed a more comprehensive and accurate understanding of climate-related concepts, which in turn can encourage them to make more environmentally conscious choices. Okay, next. So this is the interview result to support this result of the survey. The interview results show clear improvement in understanding and habits related to global warming after the intervention. You can see on the table of pre-intervention interview and post-intervention interview. Before the intervention, participants had little understanding of global warming, and the cause of global warming and etc. Often giving answers like temperature increase or pollution. Afterward, they gave clearer explanation, mentioning greenhouse gases, human activities, and the long-term effect of rising temperature. Uh, and the last, you can see when it came to saving energy, participants admitted they were not consistent before the intervention. They forget to turn off the appliance, or they sometimes to turn off the electronics, but after the intervention they reported better habits like turning off appliance when not needed, even though they sometimes still forget. But overall, the intervention helped improve both their knowledge and action related to global warming. Okay, next. So this is the obstacle and barriers that the researcher faced. In the process of implementing climate change-based education, researchers didn't face obstacles related to technology and facilities because the ease of students in using mobile phone as learning aids, they facilitate access to information and supporting application relevant to the topic of climate change. And also, I didn't experience difficulties in finding learning media that support the objective of the study. There is available learning media already, include materials that are appropriate and interesting for students. Um, but one challenging faced is the difficulty of students in translating language, but from Indonesian to English or vice versa. Okay, next. Okay, so this is a discussion. Teaching climate change topic in English class worked very well. The lesson helped students understand climate change better and improve their English skills at the same time. The mix of hands-on project, real-world connection, and creative activities kept students engaged and made the learning meaningful. Students are more motivated to learn about the environment and climate change when they work on projects like this. This approach not only taught them about the environment, but also encouraged them to think critically and take steps to protect it. It is really that combining environmental education with language learning can help prepare students to deal with future challenges. Okay, we come to the last. Okay, next. Okay, this is the last conclusion that teaching climate change in English classes worked very well to improve students' understanding of environmental issues and their English skills. Over 8 lessons, students learned a lot about important climate topics like the greenhouse effect, fossil fuel, and methane emission. They started with limited knowledge but ended up with a much better understanding of what causes global warming and how to prevent it. The lessons also help students think critically and solve problems. This activity, like reading news articles, summarizing real events, and creating posters, encourage them to connect what they learn to real-world issue and come up with the solutions. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much. Go back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Salsabila Nurhaliza, for your great presentation about designing climate change education in ELT to support junior high school students' climate literacy. Okay, so now continue to the second presenter, Vivian Azarin Faiza. It's about developing podcast script climate change based descriptive text for senior high school students. She is Sriwijaya University, and she is an English teacher. So now the time is yours.
All right. Thank you very much for the occasion. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the being here today. So yeah, my name is Vivian Azarin Faiza, and I'm excited to share with you the research. Okay, so today I will be presenting a study focused on an innovative approach to teaching English through podcast scripts, specifically designed and developed to help senior high school students better understand the climate change issues. Okay, so as we all know, climate change is a critical global issue that demands attention. This study explores how we can use descriptive text about climate change, transform into podcast scripts to engage students more effectively in learning while raising awareness about the important topic about climate change. And then, yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so why this study was conducted? We go to the background of the study. So let's begin with this study. So yeah, English plays a vital role in Indonesia education system as it helps students to compete globally. To do this, students need strong reading skills to understand subjects like technology, science, and economy. However, many students find traditional reading material outdated or maybe it can be said like boring, like that. And this study aims to address this issue by introducing a more engaging and relevant learning method through climate change topics. So yeah, the problem with this with traditional material is that they often fail to engage students. So the focus in this research is make new way to students learn about something new, like that. So many high school students find them like dual material, or maybe the dual way in learning English. So which makes learning to be more difficult, like that. Yeah, so to make learning more interesting, it's important to incorporate modern and relatable topics. So climate change is an urgent issue affecting everyone, and it's an ideal topic to introduce into English lessons. So this not only helps students improve their reading skills, but also raises their awareness of a critical global issues. So why climate change? So why did I focus on climate change? Yeah, it's pressing global issues that students need to understand, but many are not fully aware of these implications. By integrating climate change into English lessons, students not only improve their language skills, but also learn about the environment. The study connects global challenges with the classroom, encouraging students to take action and think critically about the future. Next slide, please. Yeah, so why, the aim of this study is to transform descriptive text about climate change into podcast scripts for high school students. These podcast scripts will achieve three main goals. The first one, make learning easier and more interesting. By turning descriptive text into dialogue, students can engage with the material in a more interactive way. The second one, raises awareness of climate change. Students will not only learn facts, but also understand how they can take action. And then the third one, or the last one, enhance English skills. Podcasts help students practice listening, reading, and speaking skills in a fun way, in an accessibility way. Next slide, please. So yeah, why podcast and descriptive text work together in my research. Now let's look at how podcast scripts can improve learning. Descriptive texts are great for teaching new vocabulary and understand language. By turning them into podcast scripts, we create a more engaging experience. Students can read and listen to the context and to the content, which helps them better understand and pronounce new words. Podcasts are also flexible and accessible, meaningful for students, and can listen to them anytime and anywhere. This combination of reading and listening makes learning fun and effective. Next slide, please. Yes. Why focus on climate change in the classroom? Teaching students about climate change helps them become more aware of global issues and potential solutions. Through descriptive text, students will learn about environmental challenges such as deforestation, global warming, and etc. So the podcast scripts will also feature real-life examples of sustainable practices around the world. It's like dialogue. And then encouraging students to think critically and take responsibility for their environment. Next slide, please. Yeah, so yeah, we go to the procedures of the study. The study involved a detailed analysis of students' needs, instructional methods, and reading levels. I also conducted evaluations at different stages of the study, including the first one, expert reviews, and of course, field tests to ensure the content was effective and engaging. This research utilized questionnaires, interview, and reading tests to collect the data. In conclusion, the aim of the study is to create an innovative and engaging way for students to learn English while becoming more aware of climate change. And then next slide, please. Yeah, so the technique for collecting the data, as I said before, I use the questionnaire, interview, and reading test. And then for the technique for analyzing the data The data in the study will be analyzed both quantitatively and qualitatively. So the quantitative approach measures the data obtained from the questionnaires and the reading comprehension test that they already tested. And then, of course, we look at validity and practicality. And yeah, I think that's all. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here's my product. I think it's not that I think it's not finished enough. Yeah. So here's I developed the descriptive text. So yeah, in the barcode at the you can look at the paper on the right. So there is a barcode. So this barcode is from the real descriptive text, or yeah, the what is that? We can say the old or outdated descriptive text, and then I made it into the dialogue, or what's that, or the podcast form. So you can look at the dialogue, like there is a speaker one, speaker two, and then there is a you can look at the what is that, the dialogue, like there is energetic, cheerful, and then serious. So it's like guiding them to learn more, and so they can learn in new way. I think that's all for my presentation and explanation. Go back to the moderator. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Vivian Azarin Faiza, for your great presentation about developing podcast script climate change based descriptive text for senior high school students. Okay, so next we continue to the third presenter, is Arya Muhaimin. It's about using children's literature to integrate climate change education in English for young learners. Arya is Sriwijaya University. He's from Sriwijaya University, and he is postgraduate students and freelance photographer. So now, time is
Okay,
yours.
thank you, moderator, for the chances. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our honorable coordination of Magister of Language and Study Program in Sriwijaya University, Sary Silvhiany. In these chances, I will share my result of the research that I've been conducting in this past 2 months. It's about using children literature to integrate climate change education in English for young learners. Next slide, please. Okay, to begin, we will begin with the brief introduction. So if there is a question about when is the right time or the very good time to begin plan the awareness about the climate change in someone, so I will give the very conclude question answer, which is vary from very young age. So the role of younger generation in fighting climate change itself will be very important in current situation, which is now and for the future. Today's young generation will be the one that facing the negative consequences of the climate problem in the future. And also their lifestyle would also determine the development of the future climate change itself. Therefore, it is important to understand about the climate change itself, started from the young people to know about their view about the climate mitigation and what factors that support the hopes and belief in active action in the future. Okay, according to Nayan in 2020, climate literate will be the focus or the thing that we could share to the younger generation or young people to understand the basic principle of the Earth's climate system or climate change itself. With this, we could seek the accurate scientific information and also engage in meaningful discussion about climate change issues and make the responsible decision that may impact the climate literate or climate change in the future. Next slide, please. So these are the research question of this research. So the first one is, how can the children literature could be used as an effective tool to increase young student awareness and also to understand the climate change? And the second one is, what impact does in integrating climate change into topic in English curriculum have on student interest about their awareness and environmental issues? Next slide, please. Okay, for the methodology of this research, I used the design-based approach, which aim to the better practice in the educational research. And the participant for this research are the fifth grader student from the elementary school number 115 Palembang. And for the procedure or the way I do this research is based on ADDIE model that introduced by Dick and Carey in 1978 and improved later on by Russell Watson in 1981. So as the previous presenter mentioned earlier, ADDI model is the short for analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. So in doing the analysis, I came to the school to know what about the curriculum and the syllabus they use in the learning in English. And then for design, I designed the base sources that available from the internet, which is about the children literature. And we also know that children literature could be in many various form, but the one that I take here is about the picture books for the children, and I developed the material from this children literature or pictures book, and I implemented it in about 1 month. And now I've been doing the evaluation to see about the improvement of their understanding and awareness in the climate change. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the instruments that I used in conducting the research. The first one, I have the questionnaire that consists of 20 questions. So for the questionnaire for the young children or young learners, we should adapt the questionnaire to be more friendly, engaging, and age appropriate. So they would understand easily and know what to do with this questionnaire. I mean, how to answer the questionnaire. And then the second one, I have the interview. So this interview is more about to collect the qualitative data that is rich in content and also deeper in some aspect to know about their perspective and thought about the climate change itself after we integrate or implement the material from the pictures book. And then for the interview, it was conducted for both the teacher and also the student. For the student, it is consists of 10 items, and the teacher, it consists for 7 items. Next slide, please. So this is the 2 books of the picture books that I've been used or I've choose to integrate the climate change education for these young learners or young children. The first one in the left, we have the book that entitled Protecting the Palace. It is about the book that integrate both of the climate change and also sustainability life, which focusing on how we as a individual try to have a hygiene and healthy life, to manage our daily life in aspects so that we can have a more healthier life in the future. In the right one, which is entitled about My Clay Batik, so this story is more about the recycling and using the natural sources in creating the product, such as the batik itself. Next slide, please. So this is for the result for the questionnaire that I've used to the students. So the highest percentage of the correct answer of in total 20 items or 20 question is 96.4%. And other notable high percentage, it's include between 89.3% to 92.9%. And for the lowest percentage is range between 28.6% to the 35.70%. This indicating that some students in certain areas were struggling in answering this questionnaire correctly. Next slide, please. And this is for the result in the interview session that I've conducted with several students. So based on their answer or their response, I've conducted the thematic analysis and found 5 different themes about the response that have been given to me. Okay, for the first theme is increased environmental awareness. So the code is included into 2 parts, which is the 1.1 about concern for the earth. So based on the answer, the interviewee mentions the importance of keeping the earth healthy, and the interviewee also express their need to protect the environment or earth. The second theme about the action that inspired by learning, which means the action that they would like to do after implemented the learning by the pictures books. The interviewee expressed their intention to start plant the trees or flowers at home to begin to prevent the climate change. And the second one is environmental conservation. They also have the desire to engage in the activities that preserve the environment. The third theme is about the enjoyment of learning through the stories. Some of them think that the storytelling or learning through the storybooks are more engaging and also interactive. And some of them also appreciate and to be thankful or grateful for the illustration or image that are available in the book. Next slide, please. Okay, for the fourth theme about the sharing knowledge. So after we conducted the interview, the implementation of the climate change literature based on the storybooks, the interview, some of them would like to share what they have learned with their friends and family, and also some of them would like to share the knowledge about their achievement in getting the high score in several courses in the school. And the last theme is the suggestion for improvement within the material or the picture books itself. First one is the language accessibility. Because of this, elementary schoolers are learning English for about 2 years. They started in last years. They have only 2 years experience of learning English. So some of them have the language barrier to understand the full meaning of the book itself. So some of them suggest to use the Indonesian language for the better understanding, and some of them would like to recommend for much more images or less text in the picture books itself, so that will be more visually enhanced. And then the last one. Next slide, please. Okay, for the conclusion that I've been pulled from the research that I've been doing in these past months, based on the student response during interview, they have demonstrated the increased awareness and understanding of climate change after engaging with the material that I presented through the picture books. Their awareness of this issue has begun to grow, and they recognize its importance in preserving life of the earth. They also found that learning through the picture books is one of the way to teach the children literature with a storyline and character interaction was genuinely enjoyable and kept them engaged without feeling bored. However, their level of English proficiency at the elementary school remained quite limited. Without our guidance or clarification of the book meanings, reading an English picture book on their own could leave them feeling confused. Okay, next slide, please. So these are the documentation that I've been taken while I'm conducted the research. So these are the students of elementary school number 115 Palembang. These are the fifth grade student that will later on understand about the climate change literature and now how to prevent the climate change literature for the better future in our earth. I think that is all from in this section. Thank you very much. Back to the moderator.
Thank you, Arya, for Arya Mohayu. For Arya, that sharing such valuable information in your presentation. Now we jump to the next presenter, the last presenter in this session. Is Maliha Putri Jasmine. Maliha Putri Jasmine will share about developing multimodal text to integrate sustainable education for young learners in ELT. She is from Sriwijaya University, and she is an English tutor at Elo Academy English course. Okay, so now time is yours, Maliha.
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the chance. Good morning, Ma'am Sary, and good morning, everyone. So today I would like to explain about my research, and the title of my research is Developing Multimodal Text to Integrate Sustainable Education for Young Learners in LT. Okay, let's jump to the introduction. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, the sustainable development is a part of every current global agenda. The world has been trying to build a more sustainable path, and various goals and targets have been set to achieve this. So the 17 SDGs introduced by the United Nations in 2015 aim to address the economic, social, and environmental issues plaguing the world and promote the concept of sustainability. So one of the most pressing challenges facing world and promote the concept of sustainability is the climate change. So climate change is one of the biggest challenges of our time, but still lack of a human awareness about the climate change. And also many students don't receive the knowledge needed to understand its impact or how they can contribute to solutions. Sustainable education play a key role in addressing this gap. So by integrating climate change into sustainable education, schools can help students connect the dots between their everyday choices and global issues. The use of multimodal text in learning about climate change can make sustainable education more effective and engaging. Multimodal text combine pictures, audio, videos, and written content, and it makes complex topics like climate change easier to understand. So in this research, I developed multimodal text with the theme of climate change to support the integrations of sustainable education for young learners in ELT. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the method of the study. So the participant of the study are the 5th grade students of SDN 115 Palembang who have been using the independent curriculum. And the procedure of the study that I use is the ADDI, Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation Model to design and develop the multimodal text. The next slide, please. Okay, so this is the results. First of all, I provide the questionnaire to the students to know what they need before I design and develop the multimodal text. So a comprehensive needs analysis of students was conducted to determine their specific needs regarding reading materials. So the analysis conducted included target situation analysis or TSA, deficiency analysis, and the current situation analysis. The first is the target situation analysis. So this section focuses on students' needs, goals, and expectations regarding English language learning. So we can see from the table 1, students' viewpoints in TSA. The data shows that most students consider learning English very important, with 96.1% believing it's essential. And all students agree that English language skills are crucial for their future education. However, only 33.3% feel confident in their English skills, and just 35.3% are quite confident speaking English in class. Despite this, a majority of students, 72.5%, feel that their English classes at school have adequately prepared them for future use of the language. When it comes to using English outside of school, more than half of students, 51%, report that they use it rarely. And then for the figure 1, it's about the students' favorite part of English lessons. So from the data, we know that mostly students answer reading as their favorite part of English lessons with 45.1%. And the second part is listening with 43.1%. And the last one is writing with 31.4%. So the students' favorite part of English lessons is reading and listening. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so next is about deficiency analysis. So this section looks at the students' current needs and wants, as well as gaps or weaknesses in their desired environment. So as you can see from the table 2, is about the students' view on current wants and needs, and the data shows students' view on their current wants and needs in learning. 72.5% of students want to learn about education topics in reading lessons. Regarding learning materials, 68.8% prefer texts that describe climate change because they had never learned about the climate change in English lesson. And about the 49% of students think incorporating climate change topics with pictures into English lesson is important. And last is 70.6% students believe that the issue of a polluted environment is important to include in English reading text. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so in the figure 2, students perceive difficulties in dealing with English text. So figure 2 shows the students perceive difficulties in dealing with English text. The most common difficulty is understanding the main idea, with the 60.8% of students reporting this as a challenge. And the second most common struggle to grasp the overall message of a text. The second most common difficulty is understanding detailed information, reported by 35.3% of students, indicating that while they can understand the general idea, they find it harder to focus on specific details. And last is 31.4% of students have difficulty in understanding specific vocabulary. And it shows that some students find certain words or phrases in English text challenging to comprehend. And for the figure 3, the incorporations of current issues in English reading text. It shows that 55.9% of students consider current issues important in English reading lessons. A total of 37.3% of students consider it very important to include current issues topics in English lessons. The result of this study shows the students' interest in learning about current issues such as the climate change. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the last about the analysis is the present situation analysis. This section focuses on the materials that have been studied and provided and present students' proficiency in English, climate change education, and digital multimodal text to facilitate the integrations of sustainable education in ELT. From the table 3 is about the materials learned and student skills levels. The data shows students' views on their English proficiency and learning materials. The 84.3% of students consider themselves beginners in English. In terms of literacy skills, 47.1% feel their ability is quite good. For the difficulty of level of English reading text in textbook, 47.1% find them easy, and the 88.8% find the topic is in the text is interesting. When it comes to the types of reading text, 45.1% often study short text. However, 98% of students report that their English teacher never provides reading text or questions related to climate change. About 41.2% of students have good understanding of multimodal text, and last, on the other hand, 74.5% feel their knowledge of climate change is not good enough, and 58.8% are only aware of climate change in their local area. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so it's about the figure 4 materials that teachers use to teach. So the materials that teachers use to teach is using the textbooks and telling the students to speak in English. And the figure 5, the type of climate change that the students know and understand. So the types of climate change that students know and understand is about the extreme weather, air pollution, polluted environment, and natural disasters. For greenhouse effect, temperature, and climate is lack of students to know and understand about them. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the figure 6 is about the student's perception and learning about climate change with multimodal text in English. So the student's perception, it will increase the enthusiasm for learning English using the multimodal text in English. And the student perception is they can understand more about the climate change and they will enrich their knowledge about the climate change, learning climate change with multimodal text in English. And the figure 7 is about the student's level of knowledge and understanding of climate change. So their knowledge and understanding about climate change is only limited and it's only the general information. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the product that I made. So this stage focused on designing and development of a prototype for the final product, and I presented in a flipbook format. So this is the cover of the product that I made with the title of Caring for Our Earth, Understanding Climate Change and Sustainability. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the content of the product because this is a multimodal text. So I provide the text, pictures, audio inside of the product. So the audio is I provide with the link so the students can directly listening the audio through the click the link, and the students should to listen the audio first before they read the text. And after the materials, I provide the questions. So there are the two types of questions. The first is multiple choice questions, and the second one is essay questions. And next slide, please. Okay, after the questions, I also give them the glossary. So the glossary contains with the unfamiliar words for the students like fossil fuels, greenhouse effect, and etc. And there is also a sound or pronunciation and also the meaning in Indonesia. And I also provide the video. So the video I provide in link, and also they can scan the barcode to open the video. And after glossary and video, I also provide the game. So the students can click the link to play the games. The game is still related to the materials. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so next is about the implementation. The implementation is divided by the 3 phase. The first one is one-to-one evaluation. The second one is a small group evaluation, and the third one is the field self-evaluation. And for one-to-one evaluation, At this stage, the 3 students were engaged to use and evaluate the developed multimodal text. The students were selected to represent different levels of English language proficiency, 1 high proficiency student, 1 medium proficiency student, and the last is 1 low proficiency student. So from the table 1 is the result of the developed product practicality in one-to-one evaluation. So each one-to-one evaluations consists of 1 sessions of 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I guided the students in using the digital multimodal text that have been designed by providing instructions for use. And after that, I explained the content related to climate change and instructions. And then I give the questionnaire, which was meant to evaluate the usability of the developed product. The questionnaire was presented in Indonesian to facilitate feedback from the students. After that, a test of the design product was conducted. The questionnaire covered the relevance of the developed product to students' needs, material presentation, evaluation, and attractiveness of the materials. And the scores given by the students in the survey were analyzed to determine the practicality of the developed product. So for the relevance to the students' needs, very high practicality with the score 3.6. For the material presentations, also category very high practicality with the score 3.72. And for the evaluation, also category very high practicality with the score 3.5. And last, attractiveness of the materials, very high practicality with the score 3.44. And the result was 3.57 with a very high practicality category. And last session, I conducted an interview about the product to the students. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the second implementation is a 4 small group evaluation. The purpose of the small group evaluation is to assess the practicality of multimodal text, similar to the approach taken in the one-to-one evaluation. The product was distributed to 9 students, consisting of 3 students with low English proficiency, 3 students with medium proficiency, and the 3 students with high proficiency. Participants from the one-to-one evaluations were excluded from the small group evaluation. After the 2 sessions conducted, a practicality questionnaire was distributed to assess the practicality score of the developed product. The evaluation's results showed that the developed product performs very well in various aspects. The product showed outstanding practicality, which scored 3.5 for relevance to students' needs, 3.5 for presentations of materials, 3.46 for evaluations, and 3.48 for attractiveness of materials. The cumulative average score of 3.45 underscores the very high practicality of this product. The next slide, please. Okay, so the last is evaluation. The field trial aimed to assess the potential effect of the multimodal text developed to facilitate the integrations of sustainable education in LT. A total of 18 students were involved in the field test. Students who had participated in the one-to-one and small group evaluations were excluded from the field test. As you can see from the table 1, the result of the field test evaluation, the following table shows the student scores in the field of the test evaluation. The average scores obtained was 81.4 out of the 100. Meanwhile, the minimum score to pass is 70. So in conclusion, there are 17 students who passed the test and 4 students who failed the test. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so for the conclusion, digital multimodal text can help fulfill the need to support sustainable development in English language teaching or ELT. One way to do is by incorporating the topic of climate change into multimodal text reading materials. The use of multimodal text products containing information about climate change for elementary school students has proven to be effective in improving their comprehension. By combining different forms of media such as image, videos, and audio, students can more easily and interested understand the impact of the climate change through a fun and easier to understand. With this approach, elementary school students can develop a strong knowledge of environmental issues earlier, as well as form attitudes and behaviors that care more about the earth. I think that's all for me. Thank you, and back to the moderator.
Yeah, thank you, Maliha Putri Jasmine, for your for sharing such valuable information in your presentation. So now we jump to questions and answer. For all of the participants that wants to ask, you can feel free to ask. Yeah.
Okay.
Anna Ramini.
Okay, thank you for the moderator for the chance. My name is Anna Ramini. So I would like to ask the questions to Arya Mohaimin related to his study about using children's literature to integrate climate change, education in English for young learners. So my question is, what skills can students develop by learning about climate change through English lessons, especially from children's literature? Okay, thank you.
Can we receive first the questions and then move to the second questions from Tri Puja.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So I would like to ask presenter, the last presenter, Maliha Putri Jasmine. So I could see that the product you made is so good, and I would like to ask, what challenges did you face while creating the product?
Thank you, Tri Puja, with questions in the chat box. Okay, is there any questions from other participants? Is there any questions? From the presenter, you can answer from the questions. The first questions from Anna Rahmini. What skill can student develop by learning about climate change through English lesson, especially from the children's from Anna Ramini?
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the changes, and also thank you for Anna Ramini for the question. So the question is, what skills can students develop by learning about the climate change through the English lesson, especially from children literature? Okay, so there are some skills that students develop by using the children literature to teach the climate change. So as I said earlier, the student literature that I've used in this research is picture book. So those pictures book taught to the children are about the skill to prevent or mitigate the natural disaster. So for the first book, it's entitled the Protecting the Palace. So this book is taught the children about to live as a hygiene people or person to disease the thoughts for our one. It's about the preparedness and the adaptation. So this skill, I think, could be developed by the student after they are learning about these stories, so that they will know how to prevent or mitigate the natural, etc. I think that's all. Back to moderator.
Okay, thank you, Arya Muhaimin, for your answer. For Anna Ramini, is it enough, the questions? The answer, I mean, for Anna Ramini? Okay, Ana Ramini.
Amel, I think we can just continue with the two questions.
Okay, next, jump to the second answer, to the second questions from Tripuja. What challenges did you face while creating the product? To Tripuja asks to Maliha Putri Jasmine. Okay, Maliha,
thank you.
please answer the questions.
Okay, thank you, Tripuja, for the question. And the video that I provide to students were created by myself. So I didn't take the video from any other platforms like YouTube. So I really created the video by myself. So maybe the challenging that I when first that related with the materials, and then I should to prepare the video pieces that relate with the text, and also I should to insert the sounds that relate to the text. So yeah, the challenge that I face while I'm making the product, maybe they created the video. That's my answer.
Yeah, Tripuja, is
Question
it
in
clear
chat
for you?
box from Rizky Pratama.
Tama Putra. Oh, I apologize. It's to ask through the chat box. I'm very interested in asking the second presenter. Okay, for the second presenter is second presenter.
Yeah. And present.
Yeah, the second presenter is Vivian Adarin Faiza. So the questions coming from Rizky Pratama Putra. The questions is why do you not just provide a guide instead of a fully written podcast script? Wouldn't providing just a guide be enough in some cases? Okay.
All right. Yeah, I will try to answer the questions. So yeah, podcast trips are, I think, important because they give a clear and complete learning resource. So yeah, with a full script, students can like practice reading, learn new words, and understand how a conversation flows. Yeah, flows while knowing how students improve their pronunciation and intonation when they read or they speaking like that. And if we only use a guide, it might give a general idea of what to say, but it can lead to misunderstandings or incomplete learning. So especially for language learners, so yeah, a full scripts give students a clear example of how ideas are expressed naturally in English. Yeah, it will make easier for them to learn, and the scripts can be reused and adjusted for listening activities, making them very useful for learning. I think that's all for my answer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vivian Azarin Faiza, for your answer. For Rizky Pratama Putra, you can. Okay, thank you for your full response to my questions. Yeah. Okay, this is the I think that's all from the research conference and expo about sustainability in education. So now we jump to the second session. It's about international students mobility. Is it all the participants in Zoom meeting? Okay, next we jump to the second session. The first presenter is coming from Tri Puja Lestari. The title is about choosing Indonesia over English-speaking nations, international students' pursuit of EFL teaching qualification. She is from Sriwijaya University and she is an English teacher. So now the time is yours, Tri Puja Lestari.
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the chance. Good morning, I'm Sary Silvhiany as Coordinator Study Program, Master Program in Language Education. Good morning, all the participants here. Thank you for coming this Research Expo. So now I would like to present to you my research. The title is Choosing Indonesia over English-Speaking Nations, International Students' Pursuit of EFL Teacher Qualification. Next slide, please. So it's already commonplace for individuals to relocate from one country to another country. And most of them, the purpose is for career and mostly for education. And for those people who pursued education in different countries, they are categorized as international students. For the literature, many international students, as you can see from screen, often choose English-speaking countries as their top for studying abroad. 19% choose United States, 40% for United Kingdom. Both Australia and Germany stands for 9% of each, according to OECD 2023. However, it doesn't mean that there is no international students choose non-English speaking countries like South Korea or Japan or China or even Indonesia. There is a growing interest by international students to choose Indonesia as study destination. And then my research, my paper, there are 3 international students choose Indonesia as EFL teaching qualifications. So the substantial research on international students only mostly from English-speaking country. So there is a lack of investigation into factors influencing international students' choice of Indonesia as a study destination. And the application of these international students in my research are remarkable because they are from undergraduate degree outside of teaching and education. And then the investigation into the motivation and decision-making process of international students selecting non-English speaking countries like Indonesia for EFL teaching qualification remains largely unexplored. So in my cases, the international students from different undergraduate degree outside of teaching and education, they choose Indonesia to become EFL teachers. So they want to study English in Indonesia, while Indonesia is not English-speaking country. Next slide. We come to the methods. So I use qualitative methodology with a narrative framework because narrative framework has timelines like before and after of the participants, the experiences. So it's good for investigating and comprehend the certain occurrences. In this case, I would like to know the occurrences or the experiences by the international students. And then this research, I use semi-structured interviews, and the participants here are students from a variety of countries who are currently or previously enrolled in master degree program in language education with the goal of becoming English as a foreign language teachers from South Korea, Brazil, and Mexico. Next slide, please. So we come to the findings. After I interviewed all the 3 international students, I found 3 big themes. The first is intrinsic and extrinsic influence. So for the first time when they decide to come to Indonesia, the 3 international students come with different answers. So the first is the first international students, I name it as Nami. So Nami was influenced by the movies entitled Eat, Pray, and Love. So she explained that she and her friends watched that movie and she become interested with Indonesia after watching that movie. So Eat, Pray, Love is a movie starred by Julia Roberts. So it did discuss about a woman in her 30. She explored the world. So the Eat part, she go to Italy. The Pray part, she go to India. And the third part, for Love, she go to Indonesia. Her friend was influenced and has interest in India part, the Pray part. However, my participant has interest to go to Love part, Indonesia, which is Indonesia. So this movie hugely influenced the participants to go to Indonesia. The next is I found unexpected circumstance. So while the first international student was influenced by a movie, this participant was influenced by unexpected circumstance. So she came to Indonesia to visit a friend. However, the COVID hit, COVID-19. So she couldn't go back to Brazil. And she thinks that what should she do without wasting time here? So she applied the master program in language education. And then the third participant from friends' recommendations. So when the first time she decided to come to Indonesia because she was recommended by her friend to work in Indonesia. The next slide, please. So after the intrinsic and extrinsic influence, I also have the second theme: quality, aspiration, and opportunities in education. So the first one is prior teaching experience. So all the participants here in my research have teaching experience before coming to Indonesia and before applying master program in language education. So as you can see on the screen, that one of the participants, Lily, said that I work here as a teacher, so using previous knowledge, and so then he made me interested in education. So I was already here and I chose to study here. So she has teaching experience. After that, she studied here in Indonesia for master degree. And the second is thesis purposes. So Robin, the second participant, the second international students, said that Indonesia has a rich exposition of languages. So for the education opportunities like thesis, it benefits her to make a good thesis. As you can see on the screen, in that sense, here Indonesia will provide me with that exposition to many languages and so on. And I wanted to do something good for my thesis. So I think in that sense, it will fit very well. So she has confidence to write a good thesis with the exposure of many languages in Indonesia. And the third is future career opportunities. So all the three participants acknowledge that from the degree that they have, they hope that they could fit to English teacher position in Indonesia. As you can see on the screen from Nami interview, like I don't know like math, so she thinks that for the other subjects position like math teacher, biology teacher, physics teacher, these international students assume that Indonesian school would choose Indonesian teachers. However, for the English teacher positions, they probably choose foreigner to fill that position. As you can see, like if it is like a position for teaching English teacher, it's more possible for me to get that position, to get that job in Indonesia. The next is accreditation and reputation. So for the quality of education, all the international students acknowledge that they had heard and they acknowledge the accreditation and reputation of the campus they applied is good, and they also they are also influenced or recommended by their friends that the university that they apply in have a good accreditation and reputation. As you can see on the screen, I heard this school is best in town. Next slide, please. Okay, so the last for the second theme is desire to have English degree. So all the participants here want to have the English degree in Indonesia. So because they have taught English before, however, they don't have any degree yet in English. So they want to have English degree in Indonesia. And one participant pointed that they want to have degree in different setting. As you can see on the screen, that I think that is a point that you want to do something different. So I think it was like a turning point. I went to Ireland, so she already had the experience in English speaking country, so she want to try in different settings. The last theme is cultural and geographical appeal. The first is language and culture interest. So as you can see from Robin's interview, in Indonesia, the country is just like country inside country, in a sense that there are a lot of cultures and a lot of languages and a lot of everything, food and people. And I think I was very excited to get know that a little bit more. So from the interview that I conduct with my participants, I see that they have a huge interest in language and culture in Indonesia. And the second is safety. So most of the participants acknowledge that Indonesia is a safe country. They said that Indonesia is community country where some people or a person who need help, they are willing to help that person. That's the perception of Indonesia in the party by the participants. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, the third is home-like atmosphere. So the participant mentioned that Indonesia is just like home-like atmosphere, as you can see on the screen. People live here so sederhana, so simple. And I like that because in my home place, we've been also living like this. And I think it gives me sense of home, sense of belonging. And the fourth is affordability. So the international students mentioned that Indonesia is for some things are cheaper than her home country. For example, in this slide, I present the internet. The internet here is so much cheaper in Mexico. And then living environment. So Nami also continued that Indonesia has a good living environment, and she doesn't see as a studying part. She preferred the living in Indonesia. Next slide. So the discussions, I also summarized that. So the factors influencing decision from intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, start from curiosity sparked by movies or cultural exposure. And extrinsic part start from recommendation from friends, pandemic-related decisions. Next slide. And the discussion continued with the educational aspiration and opportunities. I summarize them with strong university accreditation, opportunities to work as English teacher in Indonesian schools. International students with prior teacher or travel experience view studying in Indonesia as a continuation of personal and professional growth, accessible education. The next slide, please. Cultural and geographical appeal. So all the international students showed that Indonesia has diverse culture, natural beauty, and community spirit. Also have like a welcoming environment with lower living expenses and has a home-like atmosphere. Also, affordable living costs. Next. We come to the conclusions. So My research highlight the complex decision-making process international students face when pursuing EFL teaching career and choose to earn master degree in Indonesia, a non-native English country. Motivation start from intrinsic, extrinsic factors influenced by educational quality, students' ambition, Indonesian culture, and geographical appeal. Findings suggest that Indonesia can enhance support for international students by addressing their needs, foster cultural exchange, and promoting opportunities in diverse linguistic contexts. Institution could create pathway for career exploration post-graduation, supporting international cooperation in EFL teaching and professional development. And for future research may examine how students with diverse academic backgrounds navigate their study in Indonesia. I think that's all for my presentation. I'll go back to moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ripuja. Thanks for your delivering such a clear and impactful presentation. Now we continue to the second presenter. The second presenter is Cindy Octaviana. Cindy Octavina. It's about from foreign to friendly international students adaptation process in Indonesian high school context. She graduated from STB Methodist, and she is a freelancer. So now time is yours, Cindy Octavina.
All right, thank you, moderator. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cindy Octavina, and here I am to share with you insight from my study with the topic from foreign to friendly international students adaptation process in Indonesian high school context. All right, next, please. Okay, this study aims to explore the adaptation journey of an international high school student during her time in Indonesia, examining the cultural and educational challenges she faced and the opportunities for personal growth. The participant, a 17-year-old girl attending one of the SMA Unggulan in Palembang, was selected due to her unique insight into her international study experience. Using a qualitative case study approach, data were collected through semi-structured interviews and participant observations. The interview were audio recorded and transcribed for thematic analysis guided by Lisgard, U-Curve, 1955. Which outlines stages of adaptation. This study contributes to the discourse on international education by highlighting the complexities of cross-cultural adaptation and recommends further exploration of the roles of family support and peer network in helping students adjust, providing insights to enhance future international students' experience. Next, please. All right, so this is the theoretical framework that I use. I use the U-Curve by Lisgard in 1955 for the theoretical framework of my study outlines. 4 stages of cross-cultural adaptations. The first phase is honeymoon, means initial excitement and fascination with the host culture. And the second is culture shock, means challenges and frustrations from cultural differences. The next phase is adjustment, means gradual understanding and adaptation to the new environment. And the next phase is mastery, means comfort and integration into the host culture. These stages serve as a lens for understanding the participant's journey and framing her experiences in Indonesia. Next, please. All right, so this for the methodology, this study employed a qualitative case study approach focusing on a 17-year-old Italian high school student in Palembang. Data were gathered through semi-structured interviews and participant observations. Interviews explore her personal narrative, while observations provided context to her adaptation behaviors. This study was identified using thematic analysis, offering a deep dive into her challenges and growth throughout her year-long exchange. Next, please. Actually, for the findings, I've got 4 themes, and the first theme is culture shock and language barriers. The student faces various culture shocks. She had to adjust to dress codes and the practice of fasting during Ramadan. While she admired this tradition, she found fasting physically challenging. Regarding language, despite receiving Bahasa lessons, she found the language difficult. She found Bahasa is difficult and preferred to use English, which limited her ability to engage fully with her host family and classmates. Also, the hot climate so different from Italy's four seasons, and the early school start times further added to her sense of cultural dissonance. And the second theme, social and cultural adaptation. Over time, the student formed meaningful friendships, which significantly helped her adaptation process. Her classmates were very supportive, and through social activities like school trips, she was able to build a sense of belonging. One moment was her birthday trip to Lampung with her friends. Social dynamics in Indonesia were more open compared to Italy, where people were more reserved. Locals in Palembang frequently asked to take photos with her, highlighting the curious and welcoming nature of Indonesian society. Next, please. And the second theme is academic adjustment and challenges. Academically, the student found the Indonesian education system less demanding than in Italy. With fewer homework assignments and a more relaxed atmosphere, she had more time to engage in social and cultural activities. However, some challenges arose with unfamiliar subjects like sociology and economics, which were not part of her studies in Italy. Additionally, wearing a uniform, which was mandatory in Indonesia schools, was another aspect she found difficult to adjust to. Despite these challenges, she received a lot of support from her classmates and teachers, which made the transition smoother. And the last theme is personal growth and reflection. By the end of her stay for a year in Indonesia, she experienced significant personal growth. She overcame her initial stereotypes about Indonesia and began to appreciate the diversity and richness of the culture. She developed greater resilience and independence, learning to navigate life in Indonesia with confidence. Her ability to embrace cultural differences and reflect on her own identity was a key aspect of her transformation. She concluded, living here made me grow up so much, and I started loving myself more. Next, please. Okay, so here I use a U-curve model by LERCE to explain the international students adaptation in Indonesia. The first is honeymoon phase. The student feels optimism, curiosity, and idealization of the host country. Everything feels new and exciting. For the student in the study, her honeymoon phase was marked by an initial sense of adventure. She found the new environment exciting as everything felt fresh and different. She embraced the cultural opportunities with an open mind in a new society. She approached the experience with careful optimism rather than the cheerful excitement typical of the honeymoon phase. And the next phase is culture shock phase. The student feels disorientation, frustration, and sometimes isolation as she struggles to adapt to the new culture, social norms, language, and routines. She begins to experience the true challenges of adapting to a new culture. Language barrier were a significant source of frustration as she had to rely on English while trying to learn Bahasa, making it hard to communicate with her host family and classmates. She found cultural practices like fasting during Ramadan difficult, despite her despite her interest in trying them. The hot climate was also a challenge since she was used to Italy's seasonal weather. Additionally, the early school start times in Indonesia were a sharp contrast to her usual routine in Italy. And then adjustment pace, the student felt acceptance, greater comfort, and emotional resilience. She begins to feel more integrated and less isolated. Over time, the student started to build relationship with her classmates. This friendship helped her feel more connected and supported. For example, a memorable trip to Lampung where she celebrated her birthday with her friends. Her classmates were kind and willing to help, and these connections played a key role in making her feel part of the community. She also became more usual to the food, enjoying dishes like Indomie and bakso, even though she initially still struggled with the spiciness. And the last pace is mastery pace. The student feels confidence, cultural integration, and a sense of mastery. The student feel comfortable navigating both their home and host cultures. By the end of her stay, the students had gone through a profound transformation. She had successfully navigated the initial challenges and grew to appreciate Indonesia on a deeper level. Her growth was not just culture, but also personal, as she noted that the experience helped her love herself more and become more self-aware. The participant described Indonesia as two different worlds and expressed a deep appreciation for the cultural diversity she had encountered, marking her mastery of adapting to the new culture. Actually, if you see the degree of adjustment, she needs she adjusts to Indonesia from honeymoon pace to adjustment pace. She needs 6 months to adjust while she stay in Indonesia. And the next, please. All right. So from the conclusion, in summary, this study focuses on the complexities of cross-cultural adaptation framed by the U-curve model by Lisgard. It demonstrates that with the right support, openness, and resilience, international students can thrive in new environments, gaining invaluable personal and cultural insights. By understanding these processes, we can better support future international students, ensuring their adaptation journeys are not only successful but also enriching. I think that's all from me. Thank you for your attention, and I'll give back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy Octavina. Thank you for your sharing such valuable information in your presentation. So now we continue to the third speaker. Is coming from Fatia Koyorunisa. It's about exploring the lived experience in literacy, language, and culture navigations of international students from Tajikistan studying in Indonesia. Fatia graduated from Sriwijaya University. She is an active in national and international competition, and she is an English and Quranic private teacher. So now the time is yours, Fatia.
All right, thank you very much, moderator, for opening this great opportunity. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ibu Sary Silvhiany, and all the presenters, and also the participants in this great opportunity. My name is Fatia Rinisa, and I'm from Universitas Sriwijaya. And in this great occasions, I'd like to explain about my small research entitled Exploring the Lived Experience in Literacy, Language and Cultural Navigations of International Students from Tajikistan Studying in Indonesia. Next slide, please. All right. So nowadays we are in the 21st century that in the era of these globalizations, the international mobility of students has increased significantly, providing the individuals from various countries around the world to study abroad. Because this international students has this big opportunity to explore the new educational experiences in the different cultural settings. So according to June 2023, the education globalization fosters interconnectedness and offers opportunities for students to engage with diverse cultures, thereby enriching their educational experiences. Now, Indonesia became one of the study destinations from many international students around the world. These factors because of some reasons. The first one is Indonesia. It is a country that renowned for its own vibrant and it has a diverse cultural as the students choose this country for their study destination. And the second one is Indonesia has a vast archipelago that holds a multifaceted cultural identity and then shaped by centers of trade, migrations, and religious diversity. So, however, besides among the myriad groups participating in this global exchange are students from Tajikistan. So, does anybody know where Tajikistan is? All right, so I guess as you can see here on this screen, Tajikistan is a landlocked country in Central Asia. It's a former Soviet Union colony bordered by China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan. And the majority of its population are Tajik who share linguistic, cultural, and historical ties with Afghanistan and Iraq. And then what made this Tajikistan student choose Indonesia as their study destination? So the decisions by the Tajikistan students to pursue higher education in Indonesia is reflection of their ambition to gain the quality education while embracing the challenges and rewards of living in foreign culture. Right. So the second one is the challenges of this background. So I highlight two kinds of challenges in my research. The first one is the adaptation to a new language and linguistic environment. Because of Indonesia has a diverse languages and dialects, it presents a linguistic landscapes that is vastly different from the Tajikistan's, where Tajik is a variety of Persian is the official language. And then the second one is about the cultural navigation. So cultural navigation is another critical aspect of the international student experience, which is crucial for international students to successfully adapt to their new environments in Indonesia. Next slide, please. All right, so here's the research gaps and novelty. This research addressed the gap by exploring the unique experiences of Tajikistan students, emphasizing their language proficiency, cultural intelligence, and sociocultural adaptability. And then the goal of this research is to address how the literacy practice of international students from Tajikistan in Indonesia evolve over time. We see how the practical of the literacy, the language from them evolve, and what role do language proficiency and cultural context play in shaping their development during their academic journey. Next slide. So to answer these questions, I used the methodology here was a qualitative research method with a narrative approach. So according to Cohen et al. 2018, a qualitative research showed several purposes, such as explaining, describing, reporting, creating key concepts, and testing theory generation. And here I use the narrative approach. And then how about this side and the participant? So the participant in this research is a student from Tajikistan studying at Polytechnic Negeri Sriwijaya, majoring in economic study program. And then the data collection here, I use the semi-instructor interviews with the duration about 120 minutes, and it was audio recorded. Then it was transcribed verbatim to capture the richness and complexity of the participant narratives. And then the data analysis, I use the thematic analysis from Presswell 2012. And yes, there's ethical considerations that to ethical principles of informed consent that has a confidentially voluntary participant. So here the participants was provided with detailed information about the study objectives, procedures, and the potentials before consenting to participate. Next slide. So here's the findings and discussions that I explored in this research. There are actually 5 important things that we can see here. So the first one is the language proficiency challenges and adaptation. Here the students from Tajikistan said that actually when I came here, I didn't know Indonesian language at all. Then he said that I started from zero. When I entered the classes, all my lessons, all of them was in Bahasa Indonesia. So he was surprised because he thought this was an international class, but the fact, the lecturers, the circumstances at the class was using Indonesian language. And then the second one is the academic challenges related to language and literacy. So as he mentioned here in the first semester that he don't know Indonesian language at all. So he mentioned here that I didn't fully finish the paper. He means like when he was having the exam or some tasks, he did not use the what is it? I didn't fully finish the paper in Indonesian language, but a little bit mixed with English. So he was using a what is it? Mixed language between English and try to navigate with Indonesian language. And then the adaptation to academic culture and literacy practices. So yeah, from the start, I think I used mostly English. If I have any question or any discussion, I will speak in English. And then the social integration and language development through external organizations. Here he mentioned that I applied for a high and I improved my language with friends in that organization. The best places I improved Indonesian was BGK or Mujanggadis campus. So this was his strategy to develop to increase his ability in using the Indonesian language through having this organization, through having this community. So by having Mujanggadis campus, he mentioned that this is a best place to improve my Indonesian. So by having what is it? This organization, he mentioned that it could improve and have an Indonesian understanding more better. And then the cultural context impact on literacy development. The academic skills which I got from donation will help me. Maybe I will stay here for 2 years more and have a master's degree. This language will help me get a job. So by having in this culture of Indonesia, by understanding the language and the culture, he has a future planning that he wanted to stay in Indonesia for his future career and job opportunity. So by having this opportunity for the languages, the culture, it impacts a positive impact for this participant. The next slide, please. All right, so as you can see here, this was the pictures, the documentations from the Tajikistan students during living in Indonesia. He experienced in the organizations like in BGK and has his own community for the Tajikistan students. And here the conclusion, the literacy practices of international students from Tajikistan evolves through a dynamic process of language acquisition, academic adaptation, and cultural integration. Despite Facing significant language barriers, the participant leveraged strategies such as peer support, informal learning, and social interaction to overcome the challenges and achieve success. So by developing bilingualism and cultural literacy, it enhances the student academic performance and prepare for global career opportunities, demonstrating remarkable resilience and adaptability in navigating diverse linguistic and cultural environments. The next one. And here are some suggestions that I could recommend for the universities could more comprehensive support for international students, particularly in the areas of language acquisition and cultural integration. So the first one is it is better to provide an accessible language courses such as BIPA, Bahasa Indonesia untuk Penutur Asing, because it could significantly help students overcome the language barriers and improve their academic performance. And then the university should encourage peer support networks and facilitate informal language practice opportunities, allowing students to engage in real-world conversation that enhance both their language skills and cultural understanding. And also the institutions could also consider revising the assessment policies to accommodate the challenges faced by the students. And then it could also promoting the extracurricular activities and participation in social organization that can foster a sense of belonging. So by improving the language proficiency and strengthening students' intercultural communications, these proactive steps, universities can better support international students' academic success and social interactions. Okay, that's all for this research. Thank you very much for your great attentions and thank you.
Delivering such a clear and impactful presentation. Now, we continue for the last speaker, for the last presenter is Ruth Sary Vasquez Delgado. Ruth graduated from Universidad Autónoma de San Luis Potosí, Mexico. She is a language and culture advisor for Espanolindo. Okay, now the time is your, Ruth.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Ruth, and I will be speaking about Latinos in Southeast Asia, a new perspective in mobility. So, next slide, please. So, migration process have always existed since humanity began to populate the Earth. But however, in the 21st century, migration has been influenced by globalization and neoliberalism, and because this has created a scenario where human capital is more mobile. As individuals seek better living conditions, they migrate from one country to the other. So in this thinking, people migrate for diverse reasons that can be economic, sociocultural, or political, according to Escobar Rivera, 2015. Next one, please. The reasons why people migrate. Next one, please. Okay. So people migrate by economical factors. So like the lack of employment and low wages in their home countries have caused people to migrate for better jobs opportunities, especially to developed countries. Second one, social and cultural factors. So they have an idealized version of the country they're going to. So they believe that they will find better living conditions and more opportunity for social mobility. So social mobility is the aspect when people from a low income strata can migrate to a higher income social class. And often people that migrate believe that in their country that they are migrating to, they're going to find more opportunities for social mobility. Other times, people migrate to countries that because they are trying to build a new identity, or they have family and friends in one country, so it is easy for them to choose that place because they believe that their family and friends will help them through the integration to the culture. We have also political factors as wars and political persecution that force people to seek refuge in other countries, and we have a lot more reasons. And the next one, so traditionally, next one please. Traditionally, people migrate from the south to the north, especially in Latin America. Traditionally, for maybe 100 years now, people have migrated from Latin America and to the US, but in the last years, this has started to change, especially over the last to Europe and now to Asia, especially because over the last few decades, at least the last years of the 20th century, and until today, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, has started to consolidate as a very powerful economic bloc. So this could attract Latin Americans that are searching for better opportunities, that we are talking about the economical reasons. And the growing agreements and commercial and cooperation ties between Latin America and Southeast Asia could facilitate the mobility of people, whether for work or study research. Also, migrants support networks, as well the interest in Asian cultures could be a factor that influence on where people decide to migrate, especially the younger generation. Next one, please. So we have been the exchange of destination. I was talking about the economic growth in Asia, in ASEAN countries, the trade and cooperation agreements between Latin America and Southeast Asia, and social reasons like the migrant networks and interest in the culture. Next one, please. For my study, I will study about the cultural adaptation, the cultural shock and Ulysses syndrome, and the language acquisition. So the cultural adaptation is this that already my classmate Cindy explained a little bit what is how one person from another culture can adapt to their new environment. So things that could facilitate the cultural adaptation is that both regions are characterized by cultural diversity and linguistic diversity. So South America, Latin America, and Southeast Asia had a lot of different ethnic groups, different languages, different rich culture. Both regions has a high importance in the family. So extended family and community, it's really important for both cultures. And about religion, in both regions, people is majority, it's religious, with Catholicism as the first religion in Latin America, and the Islam in the Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia. There is the but also there are differences that will lead to cultural shock and Ulysses syndrome. Things like social hierarchy, that, for example, here in Indonesia, when we address to someone that is older than us, we use the titles like Kak, Bang, Mas, Ba, Ibu, Pak, Bapak. Then we don't have that in Latin America. And language acquisition, well, obviously we speak a different language. In Indonesia, we speak Indonesian, and in Latin America we speak Spanish and Portuguese. And this is the things that I will be focused on, but who is the focus on my study? So for the next part, please next slide. I will speak with students with Dharma Siswa scholarship, that Latin American students receptors of Dharma Siswa scholarship. That Dharma Siswa scholarship is a scholarship that provided by the Indonesian government for students that want to learn about the culture and language of Indonesia. The second type of people is Latin Americans married to Indonesians, that they've been here for longer time. The third one is Latin American that work in Indonesia. Next slide, please. I will conduct this by interviews, and we already talked about the cultural adaptation and similarities, differences. Next one, please. Okay, cultural shock and Ulysses syndrome. Also, there are two different things, and cultural adaptation is a part of the adaptation process culture, adaptation culture, and it's characterized by anxiety, disorientation, and frustration for the new culture. But Ulysses syndrome is something else. It's something so much dangerous. And Ulysses syndrome happens when a person that is adapting, that is migrating to the culture, it gets stuck in the cultural shock phase and cannot move to the next part. So instead of move to the next part, that person goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the cultural shock phase until they reach the Ulysses syndrome, also called migrant with chronic and multiple stress syndrome. And it's caused by the same things that it's caused the cultural shock phase, but it also has depression and anxiety, and it can be a dissociative disease. So also grief for the family and grief for the group of they had before coming to the new country, grief for the language and the culture, grief for the place that they were being, for the social status. And in this thing, that Ulysses syndrome, it depends on the circumstance of the migratory process. And this is important because we can avoid this if we treat the cultural shock successfully. Next one, please. The language and acquisition phase. I will study the process of the subject for learning Indonesian, what strategies they use, and what challenges they face, and even what suggestions they can give to people that are starting to choose Indonesia as a destiny of migration. Next one, please. I think it's all for now. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will really happy to answer after that.
Okay, thank you, Ruth, for your great explanation. Now we continue to questions and answer session. For all the participants that who wants to ask, you can feel free to ask the questions. Okay, for all the participants, is there who want to ask? Okay. For Nuzuliantin Nisa Utami. Nuzul.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Absaramani, for allowing me to ask some question to the presenters. So this question to Kak Tri Puja Lestari. So I have concern and curious about why do you think that international students choose Indonesian for EFL teaching qualification? Because we know that we as Indonesian not really concerned about English as the second language as as like the other country. So I concerned why they choose Indonesian instead of English speaker country that have English as their a second concern beside their first language. I think that's the answer for Kak Tripuja.
Okay, we give it first the questions from Nuzul. Nuzul, you can type your questions in the chat box. Okay, for the second questions coming from Vera Salsabila. Okay, for Vera.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I want to ask Cindy Octavina. My question is, does the student get a scholarship for exchange in Indonesia? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vera Salsabila. Is there any questions from the participants? Maybe one more questions. Okay, if there is no more questions, or the first question is coming from Nuzul. Nuzul, can you type the answer, the questions in the chat box? Okay, or the second question from Vera. Does the student get a scholarship for exchange in Indonesia? For Cindy Octavina, you can answer it. The questions coming from Vera.
Okay, I think I will answer the question by Vera. Does the student get a scholarship for exchange in Indonesia? Actually, the students didn't get a scholarship. She has fully funded by her Italian parents, and she joined the agency which is has name AFS Intercultural Programs or Bina Antar Budaya. So the parents pay all bills to the agency, and the agency, for example, book the flight, find the host family in Palembang, and prepare all trips. So no scholarship at all, and it is full funded by her Italian parents. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cindy Octavina, for your answer. For Vera Salsabila, is it enough for you?
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
Okay. So now continue to the next questions from Nuzul. The questions is why international students choose Indonesia for EFL teaching qualification instead of English-speaking countries, while we know English is not being the concentrated language here. So for Tripuja, you can answer it.
Okay, thank you, Nuzuliatin Nisautami, for the questions. So your question is why international students choose Indonesia for EFL teaching qualification instead of English-speaking countries. So that's actually my research objectives, my research questions, like why do international students choose Indonesia? What their decision-making process, what their factors choose Indonesia. So as I explained in findings, there are so many factors influence them to choose Indonesia. So the first factors is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. That I want to remind you that all three participants here already live in Indonesia. Like they like to explore, they like to travel, and they happen to travel in Indonesia and live in Indonesia before applying master program in language education. So for the first participant, she was influenced by the movie. Then she traveled to Indonesia because of her curiosity by the movie. After traveling to Indonesia, she decided to live in Indonesia. And what's the way? What should she do to live in Indonesia? One of the plan is becoming the students there by visa students. And for the second international students, she also like travel, and she happened to meet her friends in Indonesia. And after that, COVID hit, so she doesn't want to waste time. So she applied the master program in language education for English education. So maybe like you question, why should English education rather than the other program? Why English education in Indonesia? So I would like to highlight that these three international students have teaching experiences, and English has been they have been teaching English for years, or they have been using English as English medium instructions. So and then in that case, they have been actively teaching English. However, they don't have any English degree yet. So they want to apply master program in language education to have English degree. Do I answer your questions?
Okay, thank you, Kak Puja, for answering the question. Yeah, I think it's clear enough for some reason why they are choosing actually the English program for applying here. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Right. Thank you, Tripuja, for the answer. Okay. Maybe from other participants that want to ask, you can ask. Feel free to ask. Maybe one more questions. Okay, in the chat box, there is the questions from Anna Rahmini. The questions for Ruth. Okay, how does your study define mobility in the context of Latinos in Southeast Asia? Okay, for Ruth, you can answer it. Please answer it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anna Ramini, for your question. How does your study define mobility define mobility in the context of Latinos in Southeast Asia? So my study wants to talk about the migration process. So mobility, I define mobility as migration, as a synonym of migration. So like I was telling, traditionally, people in Latin America migrate to the United States, Canada, or even Europe. But now we're starting to see an increment to Asia and Southeast Asia. So in the context of Latinos in Southeast Asia, mobility is defined as the migration process for Latin Americans. I hope I'm answering the question.
Thank you for Ruth for your great answer. Okay, maybe there is no more questions. All right. If there is no more questions, we have now reached the end of this session. I would like to express my sincere thanks to all the participants for sharing their research, and to the audience for your fruitful questions and participants. So we hope that the discussion in this session have provided you with valuable insights and a deeper understanding of the topics presented. We encourage you to reflect on the knowledge share and explore how it may inform your own research and professional practices. So as we conclude, we extend our sincere thanks for your participants and engagement. It is through such exchanges that we continue to advance knowledge and foster meaningful collaboration. Okay, thank you once again, and we wish you all the best in your ongoing work. Goodbye, and see you at the next event. Maybe we can please other participant, you can open your camera if you can, because we can maybe we can take the picture together. Please, for all the participants, if you can open your camera because we want to take a picture. Okay, we can take the picture. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. This is the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for all the participants and for all the speakers and the participants. All right. Now, I close this webinar by saying Alhamdulillah and then wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for all.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everyone for the great work. See ya.